Colin Cowherd had an interesting take on Jayson Tatum over the weekend. And that was actually the same take that everyone in the NBA media has, whether it's ESPN or Fox Sports 1 or whatever the hell you watch. He thinks Jayson Tatum's boring. Okay. We've been hearing this narrative for years. Like, what? I don't really get it, but this seems to be something that drives ratings all the time, and it continues to be a talker. Here's what Colin Cowherd had to say about the Celtics star.
Let's close our eyes. Close our eyes. Think about Magic Johnson. You can see the smile. Think about Michael. You can see that cocky grin. Think about LeBron. You can see the imagery, pregame, chalk. You can close your eyes and there's images with stars. Close your eyes now and do it with Tatum. I don't see anything. 26 a night? I don't see anything.
This is bar none my favorite Jayson Tatum argument ever. Ever. Just close your eyes. Close your eyes with me. Magic Johnson's a better player because I can see him smile. By the way, Magic Johnson, of course, is a better player. But like the idea that I mean, deconstructing this, the idea that Jayson Tatum is not a star because you can't close your eyes and picture something about him is odd to me, interesting, intriguing, whatever. But also the fact that here's where the argument to me becomes hilarious, because you're trying to bring Jayson Tatum down. You're trying to say he's not the face of the league. And yet here you are comparing him to Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. Like already the argument is being shut down to a certain extent because nobody is saying that Jayson Tatum is on the caliber of those three players. Nobody. What they are saying is he's one of the best players in the league. In fact, I don't even think anyone's arguing from the Celtics side that he's the face of the league. I don't think anybody's arguing that. And yet here we have every week as Jayson Tatum's numbers get better and his season gets better and his resume gets better, all we hear is, well, Jayson Tatum can't be the face of the league because of this, because he doesn't shoot in the clutch, because he wore a Kobe armband, because he's corny. And now it's because I can't close my eyes and picture his smile. Seriously? That's what we're doing now? Magic was the face of the league because he won 5 championships. Michael Jordan was the face of the league because he was the best player of all time and he won 6 championships. And LeBron is the second best player ever and wins all these championships. He's the all-time leading scorer. It's not because he throws fucking chalk up in the air. So now we're just making up arguments. Like, what even is this? We can't say that he's not a good player. We can't say that he doesn't do it in the clutch. We can't say that he hasn't done it at the highest level, aka winning an NBA championship. We can't say that anymore. So what we're going to say is I can't close my eyes and picture his smile or his pregame routine. What? What kind of argument is that? Like, if you just had that argument with your friends at the bar, which I know Cowherd hasn't done in probably 40 years. He's just been living it up in LA in a giant studio. Probably doesn't even know where the bars are anymore. But if you had that argument with your buddies in the bar, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You've totally lost the plot. Like, I think Jayson Tatum's a good player because he averages 26 a game. And he led his team to an NBA title last year, one of the great teams of this century, and led them in every statistical category. But golly, damned if he doesn't smile the way Magic Johnson did. What the fuck kind of argument is that? That's all. Like, again, not even Celtics fans are saying he's the face of the league. In fact, if anything, the question becomes who will be the face of the league in a few years when there's no more LeBron, no more Curry, no more Durant. And we're not even saying Tatum's going to be that. All Celtics fans are really saying is y'all should probably stop shitting on Tatum because his resume is pretty damn good. And it's actually pretty close to what LeBron's was at this point in his career and what Michael's was at this point in his career as he turns 27 today. And I don't think he's going to be either of those players. I really don't. But it's just crazy. Like every week, there's some new narrative. It's nothing about his numbers. It's nothing about what his team has accomplished. It's nothing about how he leads or how much he plays. If you look at someone like Embiid, it's just about this just random, intangible bullshit that nobody can measure. Right? Like a couple weeks ago, it was Brandon Jennings just saying, oh, he's the softest Celtics superstar. Like, what does that even mean? Who's the fourth softest Celtics superstar? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's what we have come to with Tatum. They just don't want to give him praise so bad that this is what it comes to. And again, it's like, whatever. Like, those who watch the NBA know that Jayson Tatum is one of the 5 best players in the league. Like, people know that. But then you get all these people who just live online, these burner accounts and NBA Twitter people, and this is all the shit they just share with themselves. It's like they literally take human shit, they put it on the grill, and they just feed it to each other. And that's what it is. That's what the Jayson Tatum discourse is. And when I was watching this from Cowherd, the only thing I could think of was, I'll bet he didn't say this about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was always underappreciated, right? And one of the 25 greatest players of all time, right? And was not exciting, right? Not exciting in the way he played or the way he carried himself. He was boring as holy hell. You know, he had no style. He didn't give anything to the media, right? And he was the linchpin of a dynasty team. And I thought, there's just no way Cowherd has ever said this about Tim Duncan, because I'm sure that might have been the narrative in his career. I wasn't really around for Duncan's prime. I kind of got the tail end of his prime. But by that point, he had won so much that it was like, what are they going to say about him? He's one of the great winners ever. He's one of the great players ever. And then he became known. He went from being the guy who couldn't be the face of the league, like what they're saying about Jayson Tatum, to he's done all this winning, to then being, why didn't we appreciate Tim Duncan more? Tim Duncan's one of the most underappreciated stars in the history of the league. And it was like there was no moment really for this discourse, for this NBA media to really like get on their knees and blow Tim Duncan. Okay. It went from, boring, system player with all these nice players around him. The same things we're saying about Jayson Tatum to my NBA championship number 4. We were just like, oh shit, man, he's underrated. And so I was like trying to find something where Cowherd was praising Tim Duncan, and I couldn't find it. Instead, what I found was 3 years ago. This is May of 22, ironically enough, when the Bucks are going through a series with the Celtics. And he's talking about Giannis, and he's like, Joy Taylor's throwing at him, Giannis or who? Giannis or Kobe, Giannis or Curry, and Giannis or Durant. He's picking Giannis for all of them. Like he loves Giannis. And then it gets to Giannis and Tim Duncan. And here's what he has to say.
Giannis or Tim Duncan?
It's close, but not as close as you think, and here's why. First of all, Duncan had a lot more help. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and maybe the best coach of his generation. But Duncan only averaged over 25 once. Duncan was the great fundamental, but he's not going to give you 40 and 50-point games in big spots. Duncan had one season averaging over 25. Giannis has averaged over that for 5 straight years. So I think Giannis is going to have an 8-year ceiling. Now, he may not be. I think these dynasties are going to look the exact same. In fact, Budenholzer comes from San Antonio.
Yeah.
So much there. So much there. First off, look at Joy. She's like, whoa, you're actually saying this. You're picking Giannis over him. And it's just, this is kind of classic how NBA is discussed, which is, whatever. But he says Duncan averaged more than 25 once. He's not going to give you 40 or 50 in a big game like Giannis did, which, by the way, Tatum has done more than a few times. People don't like to remember that. And so it's not, I went to find if Colin Cowherd could have his foot in his mouth by talking about how great Tim Duncan is and shitting on Jayson Tatum. But what I found is that Colin Cowherd, a guy who I kind of respect, by the way, maybe he just doesn't know ball that much. Maybe he just doesn't know, because at the end there, he says, I think these dynasties are going to be the same. The Bucks are going to finish with 1 championship in Giannis's career. And Tim Duncan got 5. So it's not the same. They not like us. as the kids would say. And so I think Cowherd just might not know ball. But what this all comes down to, the overarching point here, is that Jayson Tatum is a top 5 or 6 player in the NBA. Nobody actually is clamoring for him to be the face of the NBA. So you're starting an argument out of nothing. It's a total straw man. Like no one was even arguing it. And you're just arguing against it. But the real takeaway here is that they can't point to Tatum's stats. They can't point to Tatum's accomplishments. They can't point to Tatum's, lack of leadership or attitude. They can't point to any of that. So they just have to say, when I close my eyes, I see Magic Johnson's smile. As my friend Jay Harang would say, we don't see Colin knocking one out under the desk, but it's certainly implied. But that's what this is now. You can't look at any of his stats or his accomplishments and say he sucks because of this, or he's not as good as you think because of this. You have to say he's not as good as you think because he doesn't have a grin, because he doesn't throw chalk up into the air. And honestly, as a Celtics fan, I'll live with that.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Rogue Media Sports.